Okay, so let's jump right in. If you're trying to help a loved one with hearing loss, you already know it can be, well, a lot. You step into an office and suddenly you're drowning in technical jargon and looking at all these tiny, incredibly expensive devices. But getting this right is just so important. So we're going to walk through how you can become a really confident advocate for them and make sure you find a solution that actually works. And let's be really clear about what the goal is here. It's not just about turning up the volume on the world. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's about getting back the clarity of a grandchild's voice, about feeling that confidence to jump back into a conversation. It's all about connection, bringing back those little joyful moments that really make a life. That's the real reason we're doing all this. Which brings us to this really frustrating question. Why does this happen? We've all heard the stories, right? A family spends thousands of dollars on these state-of-the-art hearing aids, and they just sit in a drawer, unused. The reason, a lot of the time, is pretty simple. The hearing aids just don't work well enough in the specific situations where it truly matters. They might make everything louder, but they don't make it any clearer. And we really have to understand this is not some minor inconvenience we can just put off. The consequences of untreated hearing loss are a much bigger deal than a quiet device sitting in a drawer. There are serious, well-documented health impacts that make taking action now really, really urgent. First up, research has shown a clear link between untreated hearing loss and a faster decline in cognitive abilities. Think about it. When your brain has to work overtime, constantly straining just to hear, it's stealing resources from other really important jobs, like memory and concentration. And number two, which might surprise you, is a higher risk of falls. Our hearing actually plays a huge role in our spatial awareness, our sense of where we are in a room, and that's connected to our balance. When that's compromised, the physical danger of a fall goes way up. And finally, you've got the emotional toll. When you're constantly struggling to keep up with conversations, it's just easier to pull back, to stop going out. And that kind of isolation is a direct path to an increased risk for depression. So tackling hearing loss is absolutely about protecting their mental and emotional health too. So how do we get it right? This is it. This is the secret to success, the one thing most people just don't know. Finding the right solution takes more than just the standard hearing test you'd expect. It actually requires two different tests. And this slide really breaks down that key difference. On one side, you've got the standard test. It's diagnostic. It tells the audiologist what sounds a person can and can't hear. But the other piece of the puzzle is the needs assessment. This is all about their lifestyle. It answers the question, where and when is hearing absolutely critical for this person? Any solution that skips the second part is pretty much doomed from the start. Okay, so how do we actually do this needs assessment? Well, it's not some big, complicated thing. It actually boils down to a really practical framework. A good hearing professional will dig into 4 key areas of communication to make sure nothing gets missed.
4. That's the magic number here. We just need to look at 4 different areas of communication to get the full picture of their sound world.
And here they are. First, you've got face-to-face. This is everything from a quiet one-on-one chat to a noisy family dinner. Second is media, watching TV, using a tablet, or going to the movies. Third is telecommunications. How are phone calls? Clear, muffled. And fourth, and this one's a big safety issue, is alerts. Can they hear the doorbell, the smoke alarm, their alarm clock in the morning? A great solution has to cover all 4 of these. Okay, so now you get the framework. So how do you actually put it into action? Let's build your playbook. The actual tools you're going to take with you into that audiologist's office to make sure your loved one gets the absolute best care. This is your secret weapon, and it's just a simple grid you make before the appointment. Across the top, just like it shows here, you're going to write down those 4 needs we just talked about: face-to-face, media, telecom, and alerts. Then, down the side, you list the places that matter most: home, the car, church, their favorite noisy restaurant. Then you just fill it in together. This one little piece of paper completely changes the game. You go from being a passive patient to an informed partner, and you give the audiologist a crystal clear map of your loved one's entire life. Now, part of that conversation might bring up something called Assistive Listening Devices, or ALDs. The best way to think about them is like this. If hearing aids are like general lighting for a room, ALDs are like little spotlights. They're separate gadgets designed to solve one specific problem really, really well, like streaming the TV sound directly into the hearing aids or using a tiny microphone to help in a loud restaurant. Definitely don't be shy about asking about them. All right, this next one is huge. Once the hearing aids are picked out, you have to insist on a real ear measurement test. Not every office does this automatically, so you've got to ask for it. It's basically a quality control test. They put a tiny microphone inside the ear canal to prove that the hearing aid is programmed perfectly for their unique hearing loss and their specific ear shape. It is the only way to know for sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the cost. Hearing aids are a massive investment, no doubt about it. But there are some really smart strategies you can use to help manage the budget without having to sacrifice on quality. So here are 4 money-saving questions you should absolutely ask. First, before you even book the appointment, call the office and just ask if they offer options at different price points. Second, ask about some of the older but still really effective technologies, like telecoils. Third, ask them to unbundle their bill. This just separates the cost of the hardware from the cost of their services, and it can save you a lot. And finally, ask if a generic ALD could work instead of a more expensive brand name one. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about remembering what this is for. All the effort you're putting in, making that grid, asking these tough questions, it all leads to the reward. You're not just buying a device. You are actively working to bring back clarity, connection, and joy. You're helping pave the way for a much richer, more plugged-in life. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What's that one sound? Is it the punchline of a joke they always miss in a crowded room? The sound of birds chirping outside their window? Or maybe it's the quiet whisper of a grandchild sharing a secret. Holding on to that sound, that's going to be your motivation through this whole journey.